All right, guys. Hey, thanks for joining me today. So, trying to get ready for harvest. I'm gonna fire up the old Lexion. Key battery is on. I did some horse trading and ended up with another bean head. I need an auger for my auger. Took quite a beating from rocks, and then we picked up a cast iron base for a patio. How that's in the field, I have no idea. It was on somebody else's field, but that wreaked quite the havoc on that auger. So this head, the floor pan and stuff is shot on this head, but it's got a good auger, good drive system, good wobble boxes and belts and chains and sprockets. And so next summer we can rebuild my head, get the auger swapped over and stuff. The combine is pretty much ready to go. Just need to grease and change oil and give it a last look over. Gravity wagons are pretty much ready to go. Greased them, checked them, played with brakes a little bit. So our corn head is over there behind the tree. So let's get up there and get hooked up to that corn head and see what we can see. Because if you remember, I asked right at the end of harvest last year, one row unit, I thought the gathering chain quit turning. So we gotta hook it up to the combine and see which row that is and get it up to the shop and see if we can't get it tore apart and fixed. Feels good to be in the combine. Oh yeah, feels good. Well, let's get this PTO shaft hooked up. We're starting to kind of clean up equipment. Some of it's ready for winter, some of it's ready for fall. We're kind of getting cleaned up. I cannot do this one-handed. This shaft is way too heavy. Yeah, I wasn't going to get that PTO shaft with one hand. That's for dang sure. You can see I grease it. It's just stiff and heavy. Let's run it in reverse. I can't remember if a stock roll quit turning or if a gathering chain. But as of there, it was over on this right-hand side. As of there, all the stock roll or the gathering chains are turning in reverse. Let's run up to the yard and get on the concrete, put our safety stand down, and get underneath and wiggle stock rolls. See if we can't find that row unit with the bat. Something was goofy that we had to stop using this head and go back to the 12th row. And so let's get her up to the yard. Last time the fuel guy was here, the combine is parked out here, you know, and so I told him, I'll just pull in the alfalfa field and top the combine off while you're here, because otherwise our little 500-gallon barrel, that thing would be half empty by the time we fill up the combine one time. And so, yeah, it's telling me my straw chopper isn't in place. So I might have to wiggle that button. So the combine, when you drop the straw chopper, that button is out, so it shuts the straw chopper off. It just won't engage it. You don't have to take any belts off or anything. But then when you lift the hood to then go back to chopping, that little button gets pushed, so then it will turn the chopper back on, but it's telling me that something's not right back there, so we'll have to check that out. If we're just checking backlash, you can see the blade, and then you can see the sprocket trying to turn, and you can see that one's got a lot of backlash, but he does engage. That bothers me. So we should look into that gearbox. That one's pretty tight between the the left and the right. That one, so there's our problem. So then we have to look, how on earth does that gearbox come out of there? That's the $1 million question, isn't it? I'll have to climb down there. Let's see. This row unit is the one that the chopper doesn't turn. Let's see. There's a lever. Somehow there's a lever right here. So that lever's down. So I wonder what that one that doesn't turn, the lever's up. So we have to investigate, why is that lever up, and what would it take to get this working. I engage that gearbox, and I can put enough torque that I'm turning the whole head backwards. So I wonder if it isn't possible that this hub just came off or broke, and then when the combine burnt, they just never, you know, it's one of the things where the hub come off and we'll fix it later. So that's awesome. So that means I don't have to pull this gearbox off. I still should do this gearbox because of that much backlash. And I see I need to order a couple front sprockets, and then we'll go through kind of a normal head inspection. Front sprockets, how much length of adjustment is left on your bolts here, on your adjusters, or do we have to get a half a dozen chains, deck plates. I got the deck plates on hand, but yeah, these Capello heads, they do a really, so this is kind of a Calmer's kit from the factory. You got the smaller driver and the bigger up here, so it slows the chain down, believe it or not. And they really do a remarkable job of bringing in very little trash. Like with my 12-row Capello, I brought in, at 6 miles an hour, I brought in tremendously less trash than my John Deere old 843, the 8-row, at 3.5 to 4 miles an hour. They just do a remarkable job. But yeah, typical cornhead start. Even with the bad gearbox, I guess that's bad gearboxes is part of cornheads, and at least from our point of view, from where we sit here. So, all right, let me figure out how on earth I'm going to get this gearbox out, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to just start by stripping the top off here so this is the gearbox that has to come out. I have never done this on this Lexion head before, so we're just kind of playing this by ear. So to me, if I can just get a lot of this stuff out of the way, we got to do plates, deck plates anyhow. So let's just get this stuff out of our way, and then figure out, you know, what all has to come off here. We're going to be learning this one together. I don't know, some of these, I crack them with the big wrench and then zip them out with the gun. Some of them, my Atlanta, yeah, all you're doing is holding this deck plate on. We don't have to try and, I mean, the torque that they got some of these things at, holy crap, you'll never get it loose. Oh, it's going to be like a brand new head when we're done. Look at that. It's going to be like a brand new head. I suppose that's the top. That must be the top for this shaft. So I'm almost curious. I look back in there, and the gearbox, it's just got a double coupler like your old John Deere's hooking up to the head there. So the drive line's pretty easy. I'm almost curious if you just get this sheet metal off of here. There's your fingers for moving the deck plate. They lock in there and like that, and they just, as that rod moves left or right, these move left or right, and then the deck plate moves left or right. Pretty simple system, but I'm almost curious if a guy gets these couple bolts here out, this little guy, maybe these 6 here, gets rid of this. That should really open up this side. Yeah, kind of. Let's see what happens. I want to see what's under this plate. So I got the impact driver. Whenever you get these old Allen head screws that might have some wear, get the Allen that you got to almost tap in with the hammer. Then this driver on these Allens, if you pull out here with a wrench, they kind of rock and strip out. We're hitting that guy. You're driving them down in and torque, and it usually doesn't fail. If that fails, then you're welding a nut. Not the end of the world. I took this cover off. We'll rinse this out and put new oil in. I'm not worried about that. Everything looks really good. Ouch. Careful how much you turn it. So I'm glad I took that cover off, because we might not have a problem with that gearbox. It might just be how these are keyed or splined or pinned to that shaft. There you go. Simple piece of square structure with this auger on the end. That is slick. That is really slick. That makes me feel a lot better. A couple $100 for one of them versus the thousands of dollars we could have put into a gearbox. So, yeah, well, let's get the rest of these snoots tipped up and get the air hose out here and get it cleaned off and start checking chains and that sort of stuff. For the price that they want for this tube, they want $730 is what this tube retails for. I am not spending that money. We're going to research. Splines are usually manufactured standards. Like, Capello is not making this shaft in-house. They're buying a spline shaft and then going from there usually. So I'd like to believe we could find a splined bushing, put this in the lathe, cut these off, but that's for the wintertime. For right now, I'll go out to the 12 roll, get some stock rolls off of him, replace any here that seem to have a lot of backlash. There's only 2 more, and then this winter we'll figure out how to fix that. And, but yeah, also the wiring harness is here for row feelers. That's the row feeler bolts onto that bracket of that snoot, and on this snoot, no. Yeah. But, yeah, that snoot and this snoot. Them are there, and the sensors are here for the sensor is here for header height, so for contour, and then them are for our steering. So this winter a guy ought to pull this in the shop and see if he can't fix that stuff up for next year. It's only an 8-row. You just hit the preset button and just drive. But yeah, I want to keep fixing this head up because it's a really nice head. So yeah, that's it for now. Got the combine in here. Had to pressure wash up around that engine gear case and engine bay a little bit, and then you wrench down this side, whatever. But for the most part, he's ready to go. Just changing engine oil, cleaning the air filter, check the engine gear case for oil. Dad is running and getting the moisture sensor off of the other combine. This one took an old El Crapperoonie. So, yeah, you can see the corn comes up, falls in the top, slides down the moisture meter into the auger, and gets returned on this side. Pretty simple system. But yeah, a lot of greasing to do. And then I do have an electrical, I fixed a bunch of wiring in that armrest, and it was good to go. And then this morning or afternoon, backing into the shop, for whatever reason, all of a sudden it started throwing a bunch of communication errors. So yeah, joy. But so I gotta tear that apart and see what in tarnations is going on. Find if I can find anything under that right hand armrest or what. I don't know. Someday there's wiring inside that plastic. The mice will run into that plastic shroud around them lights, and then they just chew all the wires up. Little dirty buggers. So yeah, the beans are close. They're a little bit gummy. I checked them here at noon. They're a little bit gummy. So we're close, but I'm just trying to take care of some last minute things, and then we'll be on our way. Ollie, I think tomorrow we head to the field. I found the wire up in the cab that, and now I can't find my shirt. There it is. Found a wire up in the cab. I fixed that little tiny wire, and now I can adjust my sieves and concave and stuff like that. I still got a couple glitches. It had, so you guys that know this combine, it was kind of what you'd call an auction special sort of deal, and as is, where is, don't call us, we'll call you kind of thing. But Ziegler really treated me fantastic on the sale of it. We picked it up for a song and a dance, and so it came with a lot of maintenance needed, and we've just been kind of taking things as we go. And I gotta say, for a do-it-yourselfer kind of guy, the Lexions look really busy and complicated, but they're actually really a fantastic combine for a guy to work on his own stuff. They really are engineered to be fixed. We were actually looking at like a 9860, and when this one came along, and yep, 9860 is going to have way more horsepower, but this thing will outlast a 9860 by 10 times over. So, all right. Anyhow, guys, we'll see you next time.